I got a stranger to load a basketball goal into his truck and drive it to my house and give it to me for free. 2 days later, I got 50% off of a retail price in a store that is not supposed to give discounts. Now, my family thinks I've got some kind of magic, and I've been doing this my whole life. I just have a basic understanding of how the universe really works, and by the time this video is over, you will understand it and you can use it too. It might look like luck from the outside, but really it's 3 things working together: failure, fairness, and one variable that you can't see, but you can use it every day. We'll start with the one that hustle culture has ruined for everyone. And that is that plastered all over the internet are platitudes like fail more and fail until winning is inevitable. And I found 10,000 ways it didn't work. So I didn't fail. I just found how not to do it. And it's cliche and it's overused, unfortunately. But because it's overused doesn't mean that it's wrong. You already logically know that failure is just information and neutral feedback. So it's like you try something and life gives you notes that either it worked or it didn't. But being afraid of failing isn't about the failure itself. It's just hiding behind some really unsexy stuff that nobody thinks about, like statistics and game theory. And there's actual math behind how luck works. So once you see it in one place, you'll see it everywhere, including in your own self-sabotage. Let me tell you a fun little example from game theory. Now, if you know anything about game theory, you probably know there's a lot of math involved. And it's true that math gives you an optimal result from game theory scenarios. But what game theory also includes is the human element, which is the one we're living with every day. Humans, I don't know if you've noticed, aren't walking around using math to make decisions. They're using emotion and then occasionally using math to justify those emotional decisions. So imagine you have 2 people and you hand one of them $100, and their only job is to split it with a stranger. However, they get to decide how much the stranger gets and how much they get. The stranger can't negotiate. There's no back and forth. But here's the catch. The stranger can only make one of 2 options. They either take the offer presented to them, or they say no and blow the whole thing up, and nobody gets the money. So if they reject the offer, they don't get any money, and the offerer doesn't get any money. They both walk away with nothing. So logically speaking, think about it. If they get offered anything at all, they should take it, even if it's just $1. Because $1 is better than nothing, right? Even though the other person gets 99, they both walk away with something. And that makes logical sense. One is more than nothing. But we just determined that humans aren't working with logic in every decision. So what studies have found on this is that on average, if you offer somebody less than 40% of the 100, most are going to blow up the whole deal just so that the offerer loses also. So they would rather have nothing than have something that they perceive as unfair. Now, once you see this is a replicable pattern, a lot more things in life start to make sense, don't they? This is called the Ultimatum Game. Anything that involves 2 people in any kind of negotiation, this is the game that's running in the background of all of that. Now, you can take that ultimatum game and flip it on its head. Chris Voss, the FBI hostage negotiator turned author, in his book Never Split the Difference, calls his method of negotiation win-win or no deal. And it's kind of like the same thing, but he flips it to the advantage of both people. So he uses the ultimatum game and says, look, there are only 2 possible outcomes from this. Either everybody wins or everybody walks away. It's not going to be a power play and nobody's going to get cheated. He just draws the line and says, look, either this works for both of us and both of us walk away happy, or we just walk away and nothing happens at all. In a perfect world, every deal would be like this, and everybody would feel as though they're being treated fairly and they got a good end of the deal. Now, hold this thought, because in just a minute, I'm going to show you how I use this principle to do those things that look like magic. But first, I'm going to show you the math behind why it works. There's a principle called the law of large numbers, and every day, it's working 1 billion times a day, all around you. All it means is that the more time you do something, the closer your results will get to a true average. For example, if you flip a coin 5 times, you might get head 5 times in a row. But if you flip a coin 5 million times, you're going to be closer to about 50-50 for heads and tails. But here's the catch. Economist Daniel Kahneman called this the law of small numbers. Okay, so this is the lie that your brain is telling you. If you do something a handful of times, you treat it like it's the whole truth. There's that emotion coming in again. Okay, the law of large numbers, close to average. The law of small numbers, you think your little sample is the big picture and demonstrative of the whole. If you start a business or a side hustle and you do it for a month and you don't make much money, or you go to the gym and you do it for a couple months and you don't lose any weight or you don't gain any muscle, or you go on a few dates and it doesn't work out, you just quit and you say, yeah, business isn't for me, or I'm not meant to be athletic, or love will never find me because these dates didn't work out. Okay, the emotion kicks in and maybe you're filled with guilt and shame and you say, well, maybe I just didn't want it bad enough, or I'm not disciplined, or it's just not meant to be. Isn't that the best one? It's just not meant to be. The universe doesn't want me to have this. No, you didn't do it enough times to hit the real average. So the hustle cliche here is coming back to find us. You haven't failed enough yet. If you flip a coin 5 times and you really want heads and you get tails 5 times instead, that doesn't mean the odds of getting tails are 100%. It's still 50-50. It just means you haven't flipped it enough times to get heads 50% of the time. So this math, this concept of the ultimatum game and the law of large and small numbers is the foundation that I've been building up to be able to explain to you the next thing, which is the real magic behind all of this. In every situation, you have variables. And sometimes you have a few variables, and sometimes you have a few thousand variables. And the whole world can be seen as one big swirling mass of billions of variables that are all colliding together to create the next unique moment that's not like any other moment in all of human history. Sometimes in a situation, probably in most cases in your life, you can know some of the variables. And you can even believe that you know all of the variables, but you will never know all of the variables. And this is the beautiful part, because this is exactly why the whole thing works and why it works in your favor. This is what makes you an overnight success, is the unknown variable. So every day I go on a walk and I pass this basketball goal sitting in this guy's driveway. And I've never seen this guy use it. I've never seen his kids use it. In all the years of walking or driving down the street, it just sits there. And I have a lot of kids and they love to play outside. So I thought, hey, they're gonna love this if I could get this. Because I don't feel like going and buying one really, but I mean this thing's just sitting there. So one day I see the owner outside washing his cars. And I walk up to him and I straight up said, hey man, can I have your basketball goal? And not only did he say yes, but he loaded it in his truck and drove it down to my house. So you may be like, oh, well, you just got lucky, or you're a charismatic guy, or he's just being neighborly. But there's an unknown variable here. You don't know the unknown variable, and I didn't know the unknown variable before I asked. He had been trying to get rid of this basketball goal for months, and he couldn't sell it, begging people to take it away. He didn't want to drive it to the dump. And I had no way of knowing that. I didn't look, and I mean, he had nothing. He didn't like put a sign on it that said free or anything. It was just sitting there. The only way I found out is that I asked. So 2 days later, this is stuck in my head, right? I'm at a Tractor Supply, and I need to get a cage for a rabbit that I was going to buy I have a couple of rabbits, right? And it was priced way above what I would pay. It was this cage, and it was bundled with this stack of accessories that I didn't need, like bedding and a water bottle and all this kind of stuff. But it was just too expensive. I didn't want to buy it. But the cage was damaged cosmetically, and it was the perfect size. So if I could buy this cage without all the accessories, maybe it would be an okay price and I would have bought it. Because this is like the cage that I wanted, right? So I grab it and I take it up to the front and I say, hey, this cage is damaged, but I want to buy it. And so the associate says, okay, well, I can give you 25% off. And so I'm just being honest here. 25% off wasn't enough to make me feel like I was getting a good deal. I'm in Tractor Supply. And this isn't a bazaar, right? Like, you're not supposed to negotiate at a Tractor Supply. But instead, I gave an ultimatum. I said, look, I can't buy it unless you give me 50% off. And guess what? The cashier gave me 50% off. She gave me 50% off. I just negotiated at a Tractor Supply. What does it matter to her if I get 50% off or I buy it or not? Like, it doesn't affect her job in the slightest, as far as I know. She could have told me no. So what's the unknown variable? Well, I'll never know. Maybe this cashier was actually the manager and she wanted it gone because nobody else was going to buy a damaged unit. Like she just wanted to get rid of it. I don't know how low she was willing to go or how low she could go. Like I didn't know, was it 30 or 40 or 20 or 70? Like I could have gotten an even bigger discount maybe. I'll never know unless I ask. But it doesn't matter what you don't know. That's why you ask. That's why you stay curious. And sometimes, more often than you expect, the unknown or the hidden variable will be in your favor. So I have family members, and I guess they're shy, and they would never ask for a discount at Tractor Supply. So they think because I got this deal, 50% off, unmarked, that I'm some kind of wizard. But I'm not. I'm acting on the information that I know, which is that there's information that I don't know, that's the hidden variable, and that social rules are made up. So there's no rule that says I can't ask for a 50% discount at Tractor Supply. There's no rule saying I can't knock on somebody's door and say, hey, can I have this thing in your yard? Right? I mean, where are the rules? There's no rule. When you test these rules on purpose over and over, you're not always going to get told yes. I understand. Sometimes it'll be a no. But if you do it enough times, you're going to get closer to a true average, which will surprise you by being in your favor way more than you expect. Though people, when they were kids, like asked for something once or twice and they got told no. And in their mind, they formed this belief of, well, I can't ever ask for anything again because I'm just going to get told no. And that's the worst thing you could do because you're bowing down to the law of small numbers working against you, not in your favor. So when you start asking things and get curious and try things that you don't know if they'll work or not over and over again, you'll start living a life that looks like you have some kind of secret hack of the universe. Because those people that are looking at you and thinking you're a wizard, they never ask and they never find out. But it costs almost nothing to find out. So you should always find out. In case you didn't catch it, here's the big reframe that I want you to take away. All the rules that run society are not rules. They're suggestions and agreements that we all collectively say, hey, we should all agree on this. So in other words, they're fake and they're made up and they only live in your head and in our collective unconscious society. Can you lay down and take a nap in Lowe's? They might ask you to leave, but I don't think there's an actual rule that says you can't do that. All right, you can go into the timber and find a spot on the 2x4s and just lay down and take a nap. And I would bet it would probably be quite a while before somebody even bothered you. Like you could get in a good nap, right? But most people wouldn't take a nap in Lowe's because we've agreed that's not socially acceptable. We take naps at home, not at Lowe's, okay? But you don't have to follow those rules if you don't want to. The equilibrium, the homeostasis, the balance of society is managed by us on purpose. And so these agreements, for whatever reason, they're serving somebody. We say, oh, we should all agree on this. So ask yourself, if the rules only exist because we agree to them, why not agree to rules for yourself that are designed so that you can win and follow those instead? And that's literally what manifesting is, okay? A vision board will help you align your mind towards what you want, but doing the uncommon thing and asking and finding out over and over and over again and having the favor swing your way more than the average person because you're always asking and you're always finding out, that is going to stack the deck in your favor. So you might recall an old cliche that says, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Well, that's not about hard work or about luck. It's about the law of large numbers and the unknown variable. If you do something enough, you actually have real data. You actually are getting closer to the true average. You can make adjustments and you can get better and you can let the average show up. And you're going to win a lot more than you think. A lot more than Joe Schmo over there who's never tried because, well, I failed once, so I'm not going to do it anymore because it feels bad. Every single time you do something, you're playing a tiny ultimatum game. And in almost every case, it's extremely low risk. And the upside is way bigger than the cost. Every time you play, you learn a little bit more and become a little more aware, and you get sharper and smarter, and that gives the unknown variable one more chance to land in your favor. Now, I want to see if the unknown variable is working in my favor. So I will ask you, if this helped you or changed how you see the world, please subscribe and turn on notifications. I make content about the hidden systems running your life through psychology, NLP, and hypnosis. So if you want to get better even faster, I wrote a very short guide called The 7 Reversals, which teaches you the 7 most common beliefs that you get wrong about accomplishing and working towards your goals. And I show you how to reverse them. So you can grab that in the link in the description below, and I will see you there. And I thank you so much for watching. Until next time.